This episode is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, the #1 seller of games and gaming accessories. And GatheringMagic.com, the #1 resource for Magic the Gathering news and articles.
My name is Sean, and this is my commander, Sydri, Galvanic Genius. Alright, hello. Today we are talking about my commander, Sydri, Galvanic Genius, and she's a 3-cost, and she's a 2/2, and she says, pay blue, target non-creature artifact becomes an artifact creature with power and toughness, each equal to its converted mana cost until the end of the turn, and pay white-black, and target artifact creature gains death touch and lifelink until the end of the turn. So, I had an Oloro deck. I think everybody has an Oloro deck, and I was never able to play it because I don't like doing the mirror match thing, and other people get their Oloro decks out first. Anyway, one night I finally got to play my Oloro deck without another one on the table, and Sydri was one of my 99 at the time, and I was kind of going through the deck, and I cast her, and then I read the card, and it just took a second, and I realized this is a really, really awesome commander. So I talked about some synergies a little bit more that night, with stupid things like Aladdin's lamp. You can look it up. And anyway, I went home and I started kind of putting a deck list together. And I went ahead and I looked up 2 deck lists online. I looked up Chris B on CommanderCast.com did a Sydri deck article. And I also looked up Canadian Cole's deck on MTG Commander. And what I did was I kind of mashed the 2 decks together and put my own spin on it. And anyway, this is the deck here, and I'm gonna start showing you it now. So we'll go ahead and move along. All right, so I'm gonna kind of jump through the lands here, just because I'm not super happy with my land fixing right now. Anyway, there's my basics. If you want to see what I'm running as far as land, you can just look in the feed for the video, and it'll show you. All right, this is the these are all my mana fixing lands, like my duals and my tricolored lands, and I just put Glimmer Void up front because it's artifact related, so I thought I'd have that up there. All right. Moving along, I am going to show off my utility lands in here because they do help the deck along. So we got our artifact lands. So we have Darksteel Citadel, that's indestructible. Vault of Whispers, Ancient Den, and Seat of the Synod. And we have Haunted Fengraf, and so I can pay 3 and sacrifice this and basically get return a creature from my graveyard to my hand at random. I'm not running a lot of creatures in here, so there's a pretty good chance that I'm going to end up hitting the creature that I want to when I use this card. We are all about recycling in this deck. So we got Buried Ruin, sacrifice Buried Ruin, and return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. And we have Academy Ruins, which recycles it back to the top of our deck. We just want to keep regurgitating this metal over and over and over onto the table. Alright, I put Reliquary Tower in here so we don't have a max hand size. And Bojuka Bog's in here to exile a graveyard. And Vault of the Archangel. So creatures you control gain death touch and lifelink until the end of the turn. With Sydri's ability and just how all the deck works, this is probably, if I could search up a land, this is the first land that I'm going to search for if it's not already in play. It's because it acts as the backup if Sydri gets tucked, and also it kind of gets around the Akroma's Memorial, which we'll get to later as I go through the deck. Okay, let's keep going. All right, Crypta de Mana or Mana Crypt. So Mana Crypt basically says I can tap it for 2 mana, and it's got a every upkeep I have to roll. Well, I have to flip a coin, but I just roll a dice. If it doesn't come up in my favor, I take 3 points of damage every turn. And you would be surprised, this usually comes up, more likely than not, it comes up in my favor. Every once in a while I take 3 points, but I have yet to be on the bad side of Mana Crypt yet. So really great card for 0 cost. And Mox Opal if I have Metalcraft, which I'm going to, because I think about 3/4 of this deck is artifacts. I get to add 1 mana to my mana pool. All right, a little more mana fixing. So we got Mana Vault. Again, this can be a painful artifact if you don't pay the upkeep cost. Soul Ring. Expedition Map. I'm gonna go and get that Death Touch Lifelink land probably right away with this. It's also a 1 cost, so I can kind of recur it quite a bit and get other lands as I need them. All right, here we go on the spell bombs. So this is AEther Spellbomb. I'm kind of really interested in this second thing here, drawing cards. I want to draw cards, recycle my little artifacts. This is based on a modern deck that was built about eggs, called Eggs or something like that. And so basically, you just kind of recur this trash over and over again to keep drawing cards until you get your answers, and then try and go for the win. So there's going to be a lot of spell bombs here. Every single one is about drawing cards, but I'll kind of go over the other abilities. So this is return target creature to its owner's hand. This one makes a 1/1 mirror, and it also draws me a card if I pay the cost. This is mana fixing, and it draws me a card. Flight Spellbomb, it gives one of my creatures evasion until the end of the turn, and guess what? It makes allows me to draw a card. All right, color fixing again, and draw a card. Exile a graveyard and draw a card. This one allows me to gain life or draw a card. And if you've been watching my deck videos, you will know that this is like my favorite artifact ever because it's like in every one of my deck videos so far. And when a quick creature is put into a graveyard, draw 2 cards. So more card draw. We have a tutor. Surprisingly, Sydri gets tucked quite a bit. So here's Vampiric Tutor. Allows me to go find Sydri or whatever other piece I want to really dirtle with. This deck is all about hardcore just dirtling. So I've had some pretty interesting dirtle turns with this deck. I try and keep it really random still. Yes, there is a themes locked into the deck, but every time I play the deck, I want it to be a little bit different. So Basilisk Collar. I need to be able to do the things with Sydri if she's not in play. So Basilisk Collar is like a backup plan. It also helps me get around a Chroma's Memorial, which is, again, coming up later. Sword of the Meek. This works really well with Thopter Foundry. Sacrifice Sword of the Meek. Put a 1/1 in play. Sword of the Meek comes back. It just kind of combos with that card. I don't have an infinite combo going with it, but I do have the card in the deck. It's also, if a 1/1 comes in, it comes back out of the graveyard. I could turn it into an artifact creature and attack with it, and if it dies, it goes to the graveyard, and then I could figure out a way to recur it. So, a pretty good card. All right. I'm going to kind of jump through this one real quick. So this is Transmute Artifact. So basically it says in all this text down here, as an additional cost to cast Transmute Artifact, search your library for an artifact and put it into play. If the artifact costs more than the artifact you sacrifice, then you have to pay the difference or you sacrifice the artifact. So it's an artifact tutor. Long and short of it, it's an artifact tutor that puts the artifact rate on the field. All right, demonic tutor. Go find whatever I'm looking for. All right, Myr Retriever. We're going to be recycling artifacts and stuff like that, and we can probably recycle this guy quite a bit, so we can get stuff back out of our graveyard. Just keep recycling our trash. All right, Baleful Strix. This is Flying Death Touch, and he gives me card draw when he comes into play, so that's pretty good. All right, Ichor Wellspring comes into play. I can draw a card. When it goes to the graveyard, I can draw a card. So cast it, put it in play, turn it into an artifact creature the next turn with Death Touch and Lifelink, keep swinging away to try and chip at somebody. Sooner or later they decide to block, I get the card draw, or I can just use sacrifice it and recur it another way. So, all right. Thopter Foundry, so this again works with sort of the Meek really well, and it goes ahead and makes 1/1 blue Thopter artifact creatures, and I also get to gain a life every time I sacrifice a non-token artifact, so that's pretty good. Alright, Liquimetal Coating, so we can turn other stuff into artifacts, and then maybe use Sydri's ability to animate it. So say an enchantment, an annoying enchantment is on somebody's creature, you could turn it into an artifact, turn it into a creature, it falls off the creature, and then once it turns back into an enchantment, it's not targeting anything, so it just goes to the graveyard. So that's one way of taking stuff out of play. All right. Ensoul Artifact, this is the only enchantment in here. I got this at pre-release, and I played it in a couple of matches, and it was just really fun. It's a neat way, like, turn Darksteel Citadel into a 5/5 artifact creature, or a 1-cost or 0-cost artifact or whatever, and just start swinging away at somebody. And it's got a lot of neat flavor to it. It's a pair of scissors. Burning blue scissors, and it's kind of a pet card for me, so I put it in the deck. All right. Time Sieve. We can sacrifice 5 artifacts and take an extra turn after this one. I'm probably going to have a lot of artifacts, so I can probably sack some artifacts to take extra turns. This is the only extra turn card in here. There is a price I have to pay, but I think I can pay it enough to where I could potentially win the game. So that's pretty good. All right, Cranial Plating. This is instant speed attached to give creature +1/+0 for each artifact you control. I got a lot of artifacts in here, so this is going to be really great for the deck, especially with Death Touch and Lifelink. All right, Toxic Deluge. This is the only creature This is only like my only mass D kind of card in this deck right now. And it gives all creatures get -X/-X until the end of the turn for however much life I pump into it. I don't have a whole lot. Like I said, I have 16 creatures in here, so doing this isn't going to hurt me like a whole ton. Right. Darksteel Plate. Have you ever wanted to attack with a Darksteel Plate? Well, now you can. You can turn Darksteel Plate into a creature, and it's a 3/3 indestructible. Another neat trick with the equipments, again, you can target, say an opponent has an annoying equipment, you can use Sydri's ability to target the opponent's equipment and make it fall off, like, I don't know, Lightning Greaves or Swiftfoot Boots or something like that. And then you can actually start interacting with the creature after you get it off. So Karn works really well with that too. All right, Sculpting Steel. This allows me to copy one of my artifacts or somebody else's artifacts. So I'm probably just going to copy one of my own, but who knows? I might want a sort of X and Y, or who knows? Yeah, I don't know. All right, Caltrops. Caltrops is really neat with Sydri, because if somebody like attacks, right, you can turn this into an artifact creature and then give it Death Touch and Lifelink. So the attack triggers go on the stack. You turn it into a creature. You give it the Death Touch and the Lifelink, and then all the damage resolves. So it would kill off all the creatures that the person has, unless they're all indestructible because of Avacyn or some silly stuff. But anyway, it seems pretty synergistic with this deck. I think I just made that word up. I don't know. All right. Second Sunrise. Each player returns all artifacts, creatures, enchantments, and land cards that were put into his or her graveyard from play this turn. So this after I kind of go through all my I have all those 1-cost artifacts. I can go ahead and just get all the card draw out of them and then bring them all back out of the graveyard. All right, Mimic Vat. All my friends, so many of my friends run this card, and everybody seems like they're having a good time. I have a bunch of these, and I never run it. This is an artifact deck, so I put it in here, and I figured I'd use it. Let's see. I'm going to try and have some fun too. All right. Treasure Mage. It helps me find an artifact with 6 cost or greater. So it'll help me target those artifacts that I need towards the end of the game to get them in play and hopefully or try to potentially win a game instead of just dirtling. But you know, this deck is just about hardcore dirtling. Perplex, this is a counterspell for the deck. This is the only counterspell I have in here, and guess what? I'm not really using it for a counterspell. I'm more interested in that transmute down there, which is going to allow me to go search for Sydri if she gets tucked. Trinket Mage, I got like a bajillion 1 cost or less artifacts in here, so Trinket Mage is going to go get that stuff for me. Trinket Mage is the man. Alright. Darksteel Ingot. Hey, let's attack with a Darksteel Ingot. Woo! Alright. Arcum Dagsson. Arcum Dagsson basically says tap, target artifact creature's controller sacrifices it. That player may search his or her library for a non-creature artifact card and put that into play. Shuffle his or her library. Arcum fits in this deck really, really well. I can just turn one of my artifacts into a creature and sacrifice it, like a little one, and I can go get a really big non-creature artifact out and just slap it into play. So that's awesome. Awesome. Good Arcum Dagsson. All right, Auriok Salvagers. This is some more recursion, so this allows me to return artifact cards with converted mana cost 1 or less from my graveyard to my hand. Faith's Reward. This is another second sunrise, but it benefits me that it only allows me to do it. It doesn't allow other players to do it, so that's pretty good. All right, Trading Post. I've been in a little fight about whether I want to leave this card in here. Mentally in my head, but there's 3 abilities here. These bottom 3 abilities all work really well with the deck. They allow me to get more synergy out of the deck. So it's staying in here for now. I was thinking about Snapcaster Mage to maybe bring back some of like Face Reward, Second Sunrise, but I think I'm just going to leave Trading Post in for now. It doesn't seem like it would be targeted as much. Okay, Tezzeret. I have a Tezzeret cycle in here, so this is Tezzeret Agent of Bolas. His top ability is going to allow me to look at 5 cards and pull an artifact and put it into my hand, so I get to draw an extra card per turn, basically. I can -1 and make an artifact, a 5/5 artifact creature. That's permanent for the until it dies. And then target player loses X life, and you gain X life, where X is twice the number of artifacts you control. I have a lot of artifacts in here. So this guy is he's a baller in this deck. The other thing is, too, is like I started looking at this idea, and I just want to make sure I make it clear in the video. If you turn a Planeswalker into an artifact creature, say you turn Tezzeret into an artifact and then turn him into a 5/5 artifact creature, right? If he loses his loyalty or his toughness, if he takes enough damage that his toughness is reduced to 0, if either one of those happens, it kills him. It's just something to think about. This is one way that you may get around to playing the card at some point. You might decide, hey, I want to make Tezzeret an artifact creature because nothing else is in the field. All right. All right, Tezzeret's Gambit. Hey, here's a little bit of prolif, and we can draw 2 cards. And I can just pay 3 and pay 2 life to do it. All right. And this is Phyrexian Metamorph. If you're unfamiliar with it, I can copy an artifact or creature and play. It's still, the copy is an artifact as well. So, all right. Transmute Artifact. This is a way to kind of get some card draw, like the Ichor Wellspring, like put that back into my hand, put it back into play, put it back into my hand, just kind of keep doing that over and over again to get more card draw. Alright, sure, I'll have an Unwinding Clock in here. Untapping all my stuff every turn seems really good. Prototype Portal. This is kind of a fun card for me in that if you have Unwinding Clock on the field and then you put this in play and you just happen to have an artifact land in your hand, every single turn that everybody has, you're putting another artifact land into play. So you can ramp hard with mana pretty fast. For the X cost is 0. Tezzeret, the Seeker. Untap 2 target artifacts. That's really great. I can search my library for an artifact card with converted mana cost X or less and put it into play. So I can get those 1 cost as 0 cost artifacts. And then -5 artifacts you control become 5/5 artifact creatures until the end of the turn. So I can go raw with Tezzeret. Alright. Let's go Cauldron of Souls. I figured if I turned my artifacts into creatures and they died, I could use Cauldron of Souls to bring my artifacts into play. Or if I do I do stuff with the 1 cost. Anyway, you know what I mean. This seemed like an interesting way to get my stuff recurring back out of the graveyard, at least once anyway. Clockwork Hydra. So I have this kind of theme in here too. What I was thinking was if I give it Death Touch and Lifelink, and then I can just remove when it attacks or blocks, I can remove a 1/1 counter, give it Death Touch, Lifelink, and then I can zap something and kill it. All right. Karn Silver Golem, I kind of already talked about how to remove equipment. So this is, Karn can turn non-creature. It does the same thing as Sydri without the Death Touch and Lifelink. I have repetition in there to keep the deck running. Salvaging Station, this is just going to let me keep recycling my stuff over and over and over again to get more card draw, to get into my answers. And it turns into a 6/6 creature if I need it to. Shroom, yep. Gets an artifact back out of the graveyard, and it's an artifact, and if she wasn't in the 99, she would be the commander probably. Alright, Dreamstone Hedron. So this guy gives me, this is pretty neat. He looks like a creature, so I was like, yeah, he looks like a creature, I'm going to make it. I could turn it into a 6/6 creature. But the other nice thing about this is I can add 3 to my mana pool, and if I don't need mana anymore, I can just sacrifice him to get 3 cards. So that's pretty good. Staffing in, yeah, let's turn this into a creature and give it Death Touch and Lifelink, and then blow up other people's stuff. Triskelion, along with Clockwork Hydra, this is another way to do that kind of shenanigans. So you can just remove the 1/1 counters as soon as it comes into play, and after you give it Death Touch and Lifelink and blow up some stuff on the field, turn it into an artifact, blow it up, whatever you need to do. Turn it into a creature and kill it. Alright, Mycosynth Lattice. Yes, I know that there is a stupid combo with this and Sydri where you can just blow up everybody's land if you wanted to. I didn't put it in there for that reason. I guess unless somebody's being a total D-bag, then I can go ahead and do that to them, but it's not in there for that reason. The reason is I want to turn everything into artifacts so that I can easily manipulate it for stuff like Triskelion, Clockwork Hydra, stuff like that, where I'm just pecking at all their stuff that they have to slowly destroy it. All right. And this is Wormcoil Engine, and he's a 6/6, and he already has everything that Sydri wants to give him. Alright, we got Roar of Reclamation, so this is going to allow me to get all my artifacts back on my graveyard into play. That's awesome. Alright, and we got Triskel of Us, and I don't even know how to say that. Well, this one's flying, and when it enters the battlefield, you put 3 1/1 counters. And you can kind of split those counters off into 1/1 creatures that can sacrifice to do a damage to something. I already kind of explained the mechanic with Triskelion and Clockwork Hydra. Alright, we got a Chroma's Memorial. So creatures you control have Flying, First Strike, Vigilance, Trample, Haste, and Protection from Black and from Red. So I can't use Sydri's ability anymore once this comes into play. So it's important for me to have that land so that I can still give all of my stuff Death Touch and Lifelink if I choose to go that route, because it has protection from black. So I can't target anything. Anyway, just read the rules for targeting and protection and all that stuff if you're unfamiliar with this. All right, and it turns into a 7/7 flying. This turns into a baller creature. It's a 7/7. Alright, Spine of Ishsa. And when it enters the battlefield, I can just destroy a permanent, and then I can sacrifice it to, say, Thopter Foundry. It goes back into my hand, and then I can cast it again and destroy another permanent. So, and it's a 7/7 creature. Good. We just got a couple cards left. Hurry up and get done here. Alright, Memnarch. This seems kind of fun, especially if Mycosynth Lattice is in play. I can start taking people's stuff and using that. So, pretty cool. And my last card is Darksteel Forge. And of course, I want to make all my stuff indestructible. How good is that? And it's also a 9/9 creature. So I can attack with Darksteel Forge. I can turn it sideways. Thanks for watching my video. Please subscribe and favorite CMDR decks.